bring in now some new reporting on Ron DeSantis. Senior writer for The Dispatch, David Drucker, also with us. CNBC founder and Newsweek editor-at-large, Tom Rogers. He argues in a new piece, DeSantis did something that made himself unelectable as president.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, I got to start with that.
Yeah.
What made him unelectable,
What
Tom?
happened?
Well, Trump may still be the nomination frontrunner, but at some point, primary voters may wake up with 4 possible indictments hanging around his neck that he's not electable, and Ron DeSantis is the presumptive alternative. But DeSantis really stepped in it, and it wasn't the Ukraine comments, which he walked back, and he may not be able to straddle that issue. It's the abortion issue. And Florida is a state now with a 15-week abortion law. Not the most extreme, restrictive, but not the most extreme. And the Florida state legislature came back into session, and they proposed a 6-week ban, the Republicans there. And it was something that also included no abortion by pill. And Ron DeSantis basically said he would sign it, committed to support it. And so now you have a possible alternative nominee who has stepped into what we saw in the midterms was about as alienating an issue as could be to suburban independent women voters, which if you're going to win the swing states, you've got to win back that constituency. And we saw how emotional gut issue that is. A 6-week ban, many women won't know they're pregnant, combined with a 2-appointment delay requirement in Florida, really puts it in a position that an awful lot of women will have no access to abortion services. And it's just an issue that I can't see him being able to walk back or straddle. And I think he couldn't have stepped in it more in terms of making him unelectable.
The signal couldn't have been more clear from voters in November, as you say, on the question of abortion. It swung so many elections across the country. And David Drucker, you've been reporting in Florida about Governor DeSantis. We know how popular he is there. We know he just won by about 30 points in a wipeout. The question remains, though, how can he perform on a national stage? And before we even get to that, I'll put to you, is there any doubt from people you talk to down in Florida that he will run?
There's no doubt that he's going to run. I spent a few days in Tallahassee talking to Republicans who have worked closely with him over the past 4 years. Some are true believers, some aren't his biggest fans, but they're all convinced that he is going to run. And, of course, he's taking every step you take when you're planning to run for president. You know, I think the interesting thing, and there are a number of questions I address with my sources, but do you think he can handle Trump? And there are things that we already know about Donald Trump that don't work in a general election context. But in the context of a Republican primary, he still has yet to be beaten as a presidential candidate. And he will go after you in ways that even some of the most aggressive, even politicians we'd think rather shameless, wouldn't go after you. Personal attacks they won't make, challenges to the truth that they won't levy. Trump will do all of that. And the question is, can DeSantis, is he nimble enough and thick-skinned enough not to let Trump control him, not to be constantly reactive, but to fight in a way that shows Republican primary voters, I'm going to give you what you want, and that is the ultimate fighter and somebody who you think can win and take on the people, Democrats, the media that you don't like. Right. And there's still some indecision there. Some of them think he can, and some of them are not so sure.
So, David, it's very funny because we're so far away from the actual election, but it's very funny that over the past week or so, everybody's like, "Oh, Ron DeSantis is finished. He's gone down in the polls and da 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 da." We've got such a long way to go. That could change so quickly. I am curious. What are you hearing from DeSantis's camp about the latest fretting from Republicans and also from pundits that Trump has DeSantis easily at heel?
Yeah, completely not concerned, really, one bit. I mean, this, Joe, when you're a political professional advising a candidate, you're paid to be concerned about everything. You're paid to fret so that the candidate doesn't have to. But, I was in Tallahassee right around the time that Ron DeSantis was referencing Donald Trump's issue with the New York district attorney and the way he talked about, I don't understand issues with porn stars. And then he gave that interview to Piers Morgan where he talked about, he made fun of the nickname and said, listen, I don't care what you call me, just call me a winner. And I was talking to people about how he handled that, how he waited to do it on his own terms, didn't get overly concerned about all the fretters and the polling and people like me that, wondered where his campaign that doesn't exist yet was headed. And they were all rather impressed and felt that even if it doesn't work in the end, that he's handling Trump exactly the way you need to. And you get this sense from Team DeSantis that they just aren't going to worry too much. And maybe it's because from an ego standpoint, the governor thinks that highly of himself, and maybe he should be more concerned, and we'll find that out. But in a sense, the only way you take on Trump and the only way you project leadership, particularly in today's Republican Party, is to not get spun up by everybody else's criticism.
All right, senior writer for the Dispatch, David Drucker, thanks so much. Let's show that moment. This is where he was talking to Piers Morgan.
What is your favourite nickname that Trump's given you so far? Is it Ron DeSanctimonious or Meatball Ron?
Well, I can't.
I think even he went off Meatball Ron.
I can't. I don't know how to spell DeSanctimonious. I don't really know what it means, but I kind of like it's long. It's got a lot of vowels. I mean, so we go with that. That's fine. You can call me whatever you want. I mean, just as long as you also call me a winner.
Okay, so I'm going to say something that off of what Dave Drucker said that might.
Yeah.
I may turn to salt, so please forgive me. I'm not comparing anybody to anybody. I'm not comparing anybody.
Oh, but you're about to.
I'm not.
Don't do it.
Not comparing Ron DeSantis to Barack Obama or vice versa. So both sides don't hate me on this. I will say though, DeSantis sitting back and being like, I don't really care. Listen, I'm not going to. You know what? And by the way, you look at how he let the Piers Morgan interview come. I mean, that worked, right? You heard one Obama person after another Obama person, one fundraiser after another fundraiser, Maura, that'd always be like, he just doesn't understand. He doesn't understand how politics works. He would go to the back of the bus and he'd go, are you guys looking at polls? And he'd go, just stop. And he'd go to the front. And there was this distance, there was this detachment. Yeah. The opposite of what Trump has. And it worked for Obama. Against Trump, maybe it works for DeSantis.
I mean, that's the thing about, Barack Obama is kind of, he had a sense of, and continues to, he's cool. He's cool. And, Donald Trump is a bully.
Right.
And so what do you do with bullies? You don't give them energy.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what, you just, and you let them kind of peter out, have their temper tantrum, and then you move on because, Donald Trump is a bully and he's, he doesn't have to be much more than that.
Yeah.
But, we'll have to let the voters decide.
We shall see. Tom?
Well, the abortion issue may be terrible general election politics, but it's very smart primary politics for DeSantis. Right. Trump has moved away from anything that looks like a extreme position on abortion, thinking it is not a winner for Republicans in the general election.
He's attacking pro-lifers, saying they're the blame for the 2022 laws.
Right, and the pro-lifers are moving away from him, looking for a national abortion ban. So that fundamentalist right-to-life constituency is a pretty big constituency in Republican primaries. DeSantis is truly trying to grab it, make sure he has it. He's not going to get the extreme MAGA Trump voter. And so it is smart primary politics. But he's not going to be able to walk away from that in the general election. And I just don't see, when it comes to independent suburban women, how he's going to patch that up in swing states, which he must win.
All Republicans are the dog that caught the truck. They don't know what to do with it. They really don't. They wanted Roe v. Wade overturned for 50 years. They got their wish, and politically, for a lot of them, it's been disastrous.
Newsweek editor-at-large Tom Rogers, thank you. Let us know. And John Helleman and Margay, thank you both as well.
You got to explain. He's on Grandpa Watch.
I'm so excited.